That spirit that fuels the countless hours and days and months of work that you have put into this, that spirit can never be defeated. Our spirit is not defeated. We are not defeated. Our spirit will not be defeated. And I promise you, I will be with you every step of the way.
So sadly for us, Kamala's days of word salads may not be over just yet. A definitely defeated Democrat Party, however, is looking ahead to 2028, and Kamala Harris is currently considered the presumptive front-runner to lead the party.
At least that's what Joe Biden hinted at during the DNC's holiday reception this weekend.
She always served this country with purpose and integrity, and she always will. And you're not going anywhere, kid, because we're not going to let you go. Not going anywhere.
Joining us now is Maslansky and Partners President Lee Carter, and host of the Ben Ferguson Show and co-host of Verdict with Ted Cruz, Ben Ferguson. So, Lee, the problem with Kamala Harris is that it's not that it doesn't matter. Her problem is that it's even Democrats that don't like her.
Yeah. She has many problems, of which that is one. But, you know, it's not surprising at this point in the game. A lot of people, when you look at polling this far out, it's usually the most recent person that's on top. So I'm not surprised that people are saying that she's the future, but she is clearly not the future. You don't lose the way that she lost and have a comeback. Now, I say that, and then Donald Trump had probably the biggest comeback in political history, but very, very different than what we're dealing with right now. So I think she'd like to hang on. I think, I don't know when he says if she's not leaving, he's talking about she's not leaving the VP house. I don't know what she's not leaving, but she's certainly not probably going to be at the top of the ticket ever again.
So to me, Ben, I watch this stuff and I'm like, they live in the twilight zone. They've been living there for 4 years. They lost, yet they're still perpetuating it. Why? Why wouldn't the Democrats say it's time to, you know, really put Joe in the basement, get Kamala out here, get your best bench people up and start putting them out there instead of playing this charade?
They don't listen to the American voters. And they don't respect the American voters. I mean, if election night didn't wake you up to, wow, we were really out of touch with the American people, I don't know what would. But they didn't learn anything. And you can tell from their rhetoric since then. I actually believe they think she is the future. I think they think the cackle 2028 is going to somehow get them the White House. And it's going to be amazing to watch them yet again do this to themselves because they don't like voters. They don't respect them. They sure as hell don't listen to them. And that was what was obvious on election night. But if you listen to them right now, they're not looking forward. They're saying, no, we're still right. You guys just didn't understand us because you're too stupid, and maybe by then we'll have 4 more years to warm you up to our bad ideas again. They still believe the economy's good. He still believes he had no scandals in his entire administration, as he said today, Joe Biden. And they clap for it. It's not like the room was like kind of like golf clap. They're like, yeah, we had no scandals. I'm like, what world are you living in, man? But this is the Democratic Party right now, and I absolutely love it. I hope they roll her out in 4 years.
When you go through all of your polling and you ask voters about, way far deeper than just, the top line question, what issues are the most successful issues for Democrats right now? Are they listening to voters on any of these things?
No. I mean, they were counting on it being about abortion and a threat to democracy, and it wasn't. The threat to democracy question, I think, was really misleading because Republicans were as concerned about what would happen to democracy if the Democrats won as the other way around. And they thought, oh, we've got it in the bag because everybody's saying democracy is so important. Well, yes, democracy is so important, but it goes both ways. So I think the bottom line is they don't win on the economy. They don't win on immigration. They don't win on democracy. They don't win across the board. And what we've got now is a party that really has abortion left. And it turned out that the women didn't come out and vote for Kamala in the way that they expected. And I think they really need to re-examine what their platform is because women vote with more than their uterus.
Right.
And
Social issues work, by the way, when the economy's good. When you can nitpick on little things, right? Like mean tweets mattered 4 years ago. They didn't this time. I had genuine friends. They're like, I just can't vote for Donald Trump, And I'm like, why? Well, I just don't like his tweets. I think it's embarrassing.
Now
when you can't pay your bills, that is a non-issue. And I think the Democratic Party didn't realize just how tough it was right now to survive in this country and how bad things had gotten on the basic issues of like going to the grocery store or saying yes or no to your kid, having a birthday party that's not in your backyard. I mean, parents want to say yes to their kids. And I think that was the election this time. It was, I want to say yes to my kids having a great time, having a good future, getting to do things that maybe I didn't get to do as a kid. Yeah. So all those other issues that you mentioned in 16 they could get away with, they were gone from the voters' minds.
Let's get to this, because what's interesting to me is one of the issues that you mentioned was this threat to democracy. Yet we've got a situation where the Democrat candidate didn't win. You've got Democrats who are boycotting going to the inauguration. You've got servers in D.C. saying we won't serve anybody food that works in the Trump administration. One of them, as a matter of fact, was fired. And so what are they doing in this, sort of a way to unify people? Joe Biden always said this is about unity. They're doing the opposite of that.
He also said he didn't talk to his son about business dealings. So, there's that as well.
Well, look, and I think and voters told me this. They're like, we'll unify everybody who agrees with us and nobody else. And so I think that's what a lot of people see here. And they do this to their own peril. I think, in 2016, it was all in vogue to boycott Trump and boycott all of that. That's not going to work now. We're already seeing business leaders go to Mar-a-Lago. We've seen the CEO of Pfizer go have dinner with Mar-a-Lago. You see Jeff Bezos showing up. You cannot boycott this. You must deal with it. It's time for us to come together. And it's immature, it's puerile, and people have said enough is enough. And I think when you see this kind of behavior, it speaks volumes about where we are, and I think it's not going to get us anywhere. At the end of the day,
it tells you where their mindset is too. Like, I think they actually believe that if you disagree with them, you're somehow an evil, bad human being. We've seen this with the rhetoric coming from the left on the CEO that was killed here in New York City. Yeah. We've seen this with their rhetoric towards Donald Trump. And so now it's an issue of how do you unwind the normalization of, if you disagree with me, I'm not here to talk to you. I want to destroy your life. I want to lock you up. I want to put you in jail, including a former president. Or I'm going to justify the idea that, well, I can see why someone would want to kill a powerful CEO because you didn't like them. I mean, Bernie Sanders' words yesterday, I thought, were not only just grotesque, but they were shocking. But I do believe that is the Democratic Party right now, and they didn't learn a damn thing from election night.
It's going to be a problem for them.
Yeah, no, it really is. Lee, Ben, thank you so much.
Thank you.